running 100 miles is not easy. Doesn't sound easy, and I don't think anyone is under the impression that they are. One of the questions I get the most, next to why and do you sleep when it comes to running ultra marathons, is do you ever want to quit? It's a super complex and nuanced topic when it comes to ultras, but I'm going to discuss some of the common struggles I had, even in ultras in general, kind of what goes on in my mind and how I kind of get through those things. So September of 2023, I ran the Yeti 100. And I've gotten questions like, do you want to quit? Do you sleep? Why do you do it? And those are all kind of common questions, but rarely do we really discuss the details of what kind of goes on in your mind in those races. And at the beginning of the race, it's mostly nerves the most. That's the anxiety and nerves from knowing what you're going to go through, because, this is, I've run well over close to 25 ultra marathons over the past 10 years, and I know what's going to happen. I mean, I'm under no illusion that I'm going to come out of it unscathed and completely okay. You're going to have some nicks. There's going to be some pain, and there's going to be a lot of mental struggle. And honestly, the mental struggle is kind of the worst part. So at the beginning of the race, nerves, knowing what's coming, the time. And I think this past 100, I think knowing what's going to happen over the next 60 miles. So, known distances, I'd run, tons of 50Ks, 50 milers, 24-hour races, 100Ks, things like that. So I kind of know what's going to happen over the next 12 to 14 to 16 hours. And that kind of knowledge makes it difficult. I think sometimes ignorance is bliss. When you don't know what to expect, it's all new. But when you know you can get to a certain distance, it's just about ticking off miles. So you turn it more into kind of enjoying the experience, running with someone, talking, just enjoying the sights and the sounds and the people and the environment, the atmosphere. All of that is what makes it enjoyable, and that's why we run ultra marathons, is for that experience and ultimately achieving the goal. But you have to enjoy the experience, and a lot of times to get through that mental stuff that's going on in your brain, because I'd say probably about mile 38 my mind starts firing a little, like, hey, you can quit. Hey, why are you doing this? Hey, no one cares really if you quit. You might as well just quit, and we can move on, and we can go eat and rest and be done with this. And that happens a lot. I mean, almost every single race. Now, I don't really give any weight to that stuff anymore, and I try to ignore it. Those type of comments from your brain to yourself really happen more when you're alone. I know when I've run races alone, those things affect me a lot more than when I'm with someone, running with someone. That's why having a pacer or just someone in the race to run with you is so powerful. But to get through those things, I just have to ignore them and know, okay, this is what my mind normally says at this time. So one of the biggest tools in my toolbox for kind of tackling this enormous task over the next 25, 29, 30 hours is really being in the moment, being in the mile that you're in. And a lot of times that's extremely difficult because it's not always pleasant to be in that moment. It's painful depending on where you are. So once like I hit the 60-mile mark, it becomes like, okay, now the race is starting, 40 miles to go. How are we going to accomplish this? Because the next step for me and how fast I am is going to be running through the night, which is always terribly difficult. I struggle with the sleep. I can't. I'm not somebody who does well with no sleep, so I'm always concerned about running at night, especially when you start getting to the 3 a.m. mark. My body starts wanting to shut down. Falling asleep while running, there's a little quick nod offs while you're running, a little bit of a hallucinating in the dark and things like that. Those things become difficult. But focusing on like sunrise and focusing on that particular goal is extremely helpful. But again, being in the moment is not always fun. It's sometimes that's where the really dark place is, because you're concentrating on like, oh, this blister, I really don't feel good. I'm extremely tired. Again, no one really care if I quit. I ran 60 miles, I ran 65, 70, 80 miles. No one's going to care if I quit because that's a lot. Again, it becomes really easy to justify taking a DNF or dropping. And, I've done it before. And it's not something you feel good about later on. I know it's a learning experience, and this all is a learning experience. It's not the end of the world if you take a DNF. It's not the worst thing in the world. But we do spend a lot of time training for these things. We have these goals we want to achieve, and running an ultra is really solving those puzzles, those little problems, problem solving along the way, and that's how you get through them. And if you can do it successfully, you'll be successful in the end. So my mind really struggles with the boredom. I think sometimes this last 100, there was times I was extremely bored. I was just tired of running. I was just tired of everything. I just want to be done with this. And that comes and goes. It's kind of a cyclical feeling. It comes and goes. I really try to focus on joy and the blessing that it really is to truly be able to still do this, even at my age, to be able to do it at all. There's a lot of friends I've lost over the last couple of years that would probably, and their families would give anything just to have a moment to be able to do those things and to be alive and to experience the beauty that we see in ultras. So that's what keeps me going. Ultimately, in this last 100, I think for like the last, I'd say 20 miles, I was just looking forward to the next mile marker, along the Yeti Trail there, the Virginia Creeper. There's these stone pillars that have the mile mark, and just looking forward to those. Coming and taking them off was extremely entertaining to me. That's 100% of my focus, was really just trying to look for those, talk to the people I'm running with, ensuring them that we're going to be fine on time, but just looking forward to those. But the other thing that kind of got irritating is the mismatch between the mile markers on the trail and what was on my watch and what we have left, and not knowing how much mileage we have left. If you've run an ultra, you know how frustrating that can be. Just the not knowing, like, why is this different? Why is it taking so long? It was only supposed to be 2 miles, and it feels like I've been running for 5 miles. Your mind goes into some dark places, and just battling those things is extremely entertaining a lot, the trail math and stuff like that. So ultimately, if you can solve the major problems, and I talk about that in this video right here, where I talk about kind of how not to bonk, how to run longer, have more energy. When you can solve those problems, you're not dealing with, too much hunger, bonking, your energy levels from a bonking standpoint are not super low. You're going to be tired just physically running for that long. You're going to be tired. Your hydration's fine. It's just taking on the amount of time. Running for 29 hours, 30 hours is a long time. You just get tired, and knowing that you have to go through that sometimes can just be too much. If you're battling so many different issues, like your feet are hurting, your ankles hurting, your quads hurting, your lower back's hurting, you got the leans, you're having GI issues. There's just so many things that you're carrying along with this. It just make it so easy just to be like, I'm done. I'm completely done with this. Staying mentally strong is definitely an extremely important tool in running ultramarathons and kind of planning those things out. So really thinking about, okay, what am I going to go through? What am I going to be feeling at certain points in time? What am I going to do when my feet hurt and I'm dealing with blisters? Just knowing it's going to happen. What am I going to tell myself? That's all I do. Just problem solve as I go through there. And yes, I do want to quit all the time. My brain is thinking that all the time, and I'm just suppressing it. So and I think most people are like that. You can definitely, it definitely depends on how much your fitness is ready for that distance too. I mean, you could be ready to quit from the beginning. Just when you're going through an ultra, it helps for you to plan out kind of where you're going to be at certain points, and just understand that, when it's 3 or 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, you're going to be extremely tired. Your body's going to be shutting down, and what you need to do to kind of problem solve through that, just to get through it. I can tell you, nothing feels better than having the sun come up and that feeling of adrenaline and just your body waking up, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is like a brand new day and brand new race. Let's go. But yes, we're all human, and yes, I think everybody in an ultra at some point feels like quitting. It's just the battling that. And so that's a little bit of what goes on in my mind during ultras. I've solved some of the other issues in time, and those variables change. But with weather, you don't know what's going to happen with weather. How your body's going to react to terrain. If you do something not smart and eat something at an aid station that doesn't agree with you, if you start not being able to, hold food down, or something's not agreeing with you, there's just so many things to solve and to work with in an ultra that make it difficult. But the mental side, You gotta lock that stuff down, because it's going to be a struggle. You're going to go into dark places, and just know that. And if you're interested in other kind of tips and experience in ultra marathons, go ahead and click right there, and I'll see you in the next video.